We'll open up for the budget estimates on the public here. Jan, did you want to
Well,
add anything?
I don't have anything, and we publicize the budget on Gateway like we're supposed to, and I sent all that out to council. We'll be voting on this, for the first reading later on in the meeting. But right now, if anybody has any questions, now's the time to ask.
I have some questions.
Okay.
So I took the liberty of looking back a couple years and comparing how the numbers are evolving. And in general, as can be expected, everything is, going up slightly, which is to be expected. Except local road and street and utilities seem to be flatlined. Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because local road and street, the revenue that we get from that is flat. I mean, it doesn't increase, so maybe a little bit, so it just builds up in the budget, or it builds up in the fund. So if we would want to use it at any time, we could always do an additional appropriation, but usually I don't budget more than what we're gonna get in.
And where does that come from?
Local road and streets from the state.
From the state. Okay.
And utilities is similar. Utilities should have gone up. Maybe not this last year.
I mean, the tax levy, which again, guys, I'm not an expert in this. I don't know what all this means, but the tax levy for the utilities in 2020 was 140,000. In 2021 was 140,000, and proposed for next year is 147,000. So, well, that's in 7,000 increase, not a big deal, but the adopted budget's still flatlined. So, what's going on there?
Well, it's because when I looked at what was spent, that we didn't need to increase the budget. Either we were under budget, or
We may have
I mean, I
not.
can't
If
tell
we
you
didn't
exactly,
spend-
that's
If
why-
we didn't spend that much, then that doesn't need to be increased.
yeah.
Right, but the tax levy,
Yeah.
would that means what, we're charging more taxes?
We're not, I mean, we collect more taxes, but we don't determine that number.
Okay.
And we don't determine with the revenue that we get in taxes. That's the Department of Local Government and Finance.
Okay.
They, like this year, they call it a max levy growth quotient, and that was 5%. So that means the tax levy this year is 5% more than the tax levy last year. If you want to know how they calculate it, I mean, I could tell you what they told me, but I'm sure that it's pretty complicated. I don't know
Okay.
exactly how they do it.
All right, we can maybe talk about it another time. Last question that I have on this is that for park and recreation, in 2020 we were budgeting 50,457. Last year it almost doubled to 101,000. And this year it triples from that. I mean, for next year it triples for that to 300,000. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the adopted tax levy. I'm sorry. Still, that seems kind of interesting. And so you said the adopted tax levy is not something that we determine, that we decide on. It's the state. Okay. So anyway, so that was the extent of my questions.
Anything else?
Well, you're talking about the park budget, the budget that we set the budget.
No, it looks. Let me look at it real quick.
I sent the budget out that had the last, I sent you several things, I don't have it all with me, but I had it from year to year, and from last year's budget was 134,000.
Yes.
And this year's 146.
Right. Yeah, I was looking at the tax levy for that.
Well, they determine on what the tax dollars are that we get, but there's also revenue that we get for park, which isn't a lot.
Okay.
But that can change from year to year.
So the budget is for an appropriation, correct? So meaning that there's gonna be, since we're getting this levy from the state, we're only using less than half of it in the proposed
The levy
budget.
from the state, well, the levy from the state takes into consideration tax, what do they call it, tax credits, or like, we only collect about half of what the levy is. And
Okay.
we
Sorry.
lose like 54, 52, 53% in
Yeah,
tax
that's
credits.
the levies before caps, isn't it?
That's right, that is correct. So we don't get that full 3 million or whatever you're seeing there.
That's based on
Yeah.
the rate, on our rate, but the tax caps knock it down to the, because you have it like on your residential or your owner occupied properties capped at 1% of assessed value and 2% on residential, non-owner occupied, and 3% on commercial, and just 2% on ag.
I'm not sure, but.
We don't have much ag.
Yeah, there's not egg in the city.
Not really cheap.
Okay, so.
Might have a little,
Yeah, well,
Probably.
usually, yeah.
a couple of spots, but that's it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anything else? Hearing is closed at 6:07. We will now commence with the meeting. Would everyone please rise for the pledge and remain standing for the prayer? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for each and every individual in this room, and thank you for this community. Thank you for this opportunity this evening to gather and to meet and to discuss things that to help us further this community along. We just pray for your wisdom, pray for your guidance in our decision making, and we give thanks. We all too often we don't thank you for everything we have, just from the very breath in our lungs, to the ability to rise for this pledge and prayer, to the roof over our heads, to the jobs that we have in this community, everything, every citizen. We thank you. We don't give thanks enough. We far too often take for granted what we have. We thank you for all your blessings. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, Jan, if you would, roll call.
Brandon Elmore,
Present.
Bob Leahy,
Here.
Jason Brewer,
Here.
Tim Heiss.
Here.
Tito Frias.
Here.
All right, I trust you've had an opportunity to review the consent agenda. Do you have any questions or comments? If not, I would look for a motion for approval.
I do have a question.
Yep.
In the section about stormwater main repair on Columbian Oak and the Wagoner paving quotes, I would like the minutes to reflect that I asked about Pearl Street between Mulberry and High Streets because I had a lot of people asking me about that one. And Steve, if I remember correctly, said that this section of road was next on the list of roads that were going to be repaired, but that the problem with the water main on Columbian Oak had to be prioritized. And I wanted that to be reflected, if possible, please, on in the minutes.
It's not water main, it's stormwater. Stormwater.
It's stormwater?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Were you able to get that, Jan?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, I would entertain a motion for approval with said amendment.
I'll move we accept the consent agenda as presented with said amendment.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Consent agenda approved as presented. We have no presenters on the agenda. Department reports. man, kudos to the fiesta. That was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. It was a tremendous turnout. In fact, I had a long-standing member of the community, a very long-standing member of the community, come up to me yesterday during the viewing, in fact, and was just absolutely ecstatic over the turnout and just how everything went, and he was just thrilled. So it was wonderful. So my hat's off to everybody that helped make that possible, because that was wonderful. We do have an awesome update coming later this week. We'll have a press release regarding Cardinal Ethanol and their support of Vision Corner. Tremendous news, tremendous update. So great things coming there. Department heads, actually we'll go down to Clerk Treasurer. Jan, do you have anything? Well, actually, Eric, anything you want?
I don't have anything. I'm
Okay.
just here to answer any questions or.
No, awesome.
Okay.
Great to have you here, man. Thank you. Yeah, I'm sorry, Jan, go ahead.
Yeah, the only thing I have is that I have email addresses for all of council for city email addresses, so that we keep city email addresses separate from our personal email addresses. I will be sending you an email to your personal email to tell you how to get set up for that. And from now on, though, your packets will come to your business email address. So please let me know. I will send those out tomorrow, tonight, maybe tomorrow. If you have any trouble, then please email me so that I know there's a problem. Okay? And if you get set up, then please email me back and say that you're set up.
Super.
And that's all I have.
Oh, thank you, Jan. Council members. Tito, let's start with you.
Yeah, and I know we just mentioned Eric. For the public who didn't catch the news item, or could maybe
Absolutely.
present that?
Gentleman's voice that you heard on the department reports, Eric Hyatt is our public safety director. And I don't know if you want to get a camera shot or you've already, okay. That's Eric. So welcome, and thank you.
Very good. Just two items. One is that I've received I might have mentioned this, so I apologize if I did, but I received more complaints about golf carts, that they're too slow, they need to stay off the highways, meaning Chestnut and Columbia Street. They sometimes drive too abreast.
They're not supposed to be on there anyway.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Only if they're crossing over to get to another side street.
Right.
Now you say two abreast, what do you mean two abreast?
They're side by side, on the same side of the road, going down the road, and that becomes a little bit dangerous. And so
Okay.
just had more than a few people tell me about that, so I was hoping maybe at least could check that out. Not sure how else to approach that issue.
No, absolutely.
The other one is just a question, not a big thing that I brought up last year, but I've had people pushing me now to ask again. So we have a nice cement monument at the park near the soccer fields, just off Union City Pike, which marks the western border of the Treaty of Greenville, 1995. That is where the United States border was with the Indian Territories after the Treaty of Greenville. That was signed with Little Turtle of the Miami and Chief Blue Jacket of the Shawnee. The person who told me this said, "Who defeated over 900 soldiers at the Battle of the Wabash in 1791?" Anyway, we need another marker to mark the spot of the treaty line on the Division Street side.
Mm-hmm.
We got
I think I know who you talked to, because he talked to me at the park.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, while I was working over. I'm trying to get with, my memory escapes me, the history teacher at Union City, because I'm hoping they would be willing to make this a project.
Oh, okay.
Because I've gotten with Brad, I told him I'd get with Brad to see if we had, because supposedly there was a sign there at one point in time and it got knocked down. And I asked Brad, I said, did it get stuck in the garage with the extra signs? And he said, I've been here 30 years, I've never seen anything of that.
It was wooden.
It was wooden?
And it was real old.
Oh, okay. See, I don't remember what it looked like,
I
so.
remember the sign up. I couldn't tell you what it looked like anymore, but
Okay.
I even forgot about it till.
And that's what the permanent marker is supposed to recognize, I believe, or the more permanent marker, I guess you
Right, it
will.
was.
But I think he's hoping to maybe to show the boundary.
Yeah.
Because that was actually the boundary between basically Indian Territory and well, at the time, U.S. territory, because it wasn't a state yet, if memory serves it correctly, when that treaty was signed.
Ohio might have been the state, but
Was it a state? Okay.
But
I don't think Indiana wasn't, obviously, because that was
Indiana
Indian territory.
Right.
so.
So,
Okay.
yeah, we're trying to get something done there to connect the two dots. So think it is marked, but it's just the boundary is not, I mean, and that is marked on the boundary, but there's not a line, if you will, across the backside of the park like there once was.
And one other thing I learned is that if you look towards the north from there, there are trees that are in a straight line, out in the country where there are no roads. That was also the border.
Okay.
Someone informed me of that, so.
Interesting.
I got some interesting history. So yeah, we could eventually keep working on that until we get something. That'll be awesome. Thank you so much. That's all
We
I have.
got a note that the marker was covered with bushes at one point in time.
Oh, okay.
But,
So it might have got all cleared out.
yeah.
Anything else?
That's all I have.
Oh, okay. No problem. Tim?
I don't have anything.
Jason?
I do not have anything.
All right. Bob?
Last Wednesday night, the Area Planning Commission unanimously voted favorable recommendation to Workhorse for their 5-acre rezoning from manufacturing to ag limited for a horse barn.
Awesome.
And we're going to vote on that later on. If anybody else has any questions, we can go into detail a little bit more at that point. And then also I had a citizen complain on Lynn Street, on the north side of Lynn Street. Their backyard butts up against the construction zone,
Uh-huh.
and the weeds are head high.
Oh, boy. Okay.
And what would have been crops growing
Right.
now is
Or
just
weeds.
weeds growing.
Okay.
Wanted to know if we could possibly get that mowed for them.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
Steve or Chad, I took a couple of pictures down there, so if you guys want me to send you that, if not, it's no big deal, but I do have them.
We'll get it to you.
I'll have it done tomorrow.
Good heads up.
That's all I got.
All right. Brandon?
Yeah, the only thing I had really was from Randolph County United, similar to Bob's just update just now about Workhorse and their dealings with land. There's actually a land swap going on with Randolph County United owns 12 acres of wooded land behind Workhorse, and they're actually swapping it with Workhorse's 5 acres that are right next to the building. And that's in the process of them swapping that land with some potential development happening with Workhorse. So. Along with the ag update that Bob just gave. So,
Excellent. Good deal. All right. Steve?
All I have is what's on new business.
Okay. Well, speaking of which, we're going to get there quickly because we don't have any old business, but new business, form of funders. Bob, did you want to give an update on, I think there's new news on the form of funders?
Yeah, the Coolies have signed up. I think it's Elaine and trying to remember her husband's name. But anyway, they are now members of the Forum of Funders, and they did their contribution up front. Normally, the Forum of Funders is asking for a 3-year commitment of $10,000 a year. Theirs is there. I don't have the figures right now, but there's a couple $100,000 already in the fund because the Community Foundation started off with a large grant, and Winchester Foundation did, as did the Randolph Economic. The council and the commissioners have pledged $10,000 a year for 3 years, as has the city of Winchester. I'm hoping that you folks will vote for a commitment, a 3-year commitment of $10,000 a year. This is an opportunity for the county to move forward with some of the ideas that came up during those multitude of meetings that we held over in the 4-H building. And these committees are now, I think you're on one of them, Mayor. And they're coming up with ideas, but they're going to need funding, and that's what the Forum of Funders is all about. to fund. Sometimes you need matching money. If you're asking for $100,000, they may want the requester to put up 10% or 20% or whatever. And that's the sort of thing that these committees will be presenting to the forum of funders. Each donor, no matter how much money you put in, the community foundation put in like 100,000, we get one vote. The city will get one vote. The members of this forum each get one vote on, and the only thing the community foundation is doing is acting as a fiscal agent. And our executive director is talking to groups, encouraging people to take part. I'm hopeful that this will be the start of pushing Randolph County into the 21st century. There are so many needs here that have come to light in these meetings, and they've been discussed by people from all over the county. And I think there are a lot of legitimate ideas out there. People are already working on them, but they're going to need money. And this will be an opportunity for Union City to take a leadership role in promoting the county, because what happens in the county is good for Union City. If the employment committee is able to encourage an expansion of a business in Winchester or Saratoga, it's going to help Union City. If you have any real questions about how it's going to work, beyond what I've been able to tell you, Lisa will be happy to come back and talk. But I'm hoping that you vote on it tonight, since you've had an opportunity for a couple of weeks to study the, what she told you.
So you guys had opportunity to reflect and give consideration to what was presented previously. Any thoughts, comments, questions?
So you or, the Union City would select someone to be the voting
Right.
member
That's correct.
of the,
Be a representative of Union City, just like one of our community foundation board members will represent the community foundation, and we'll get one vote. Everyone else that's a part of it will get one vote. It's a 3-year experiment, and we're hoping that, like other forums of funders throughout the country, that this will grow. And that it won't just be 3 years, that your children and grandchildren will be looking at millions in this fund to take care of various needs, because the needs are going to grow. If we grow our population and our prosperity, we're going to have needs always.
Good question, Tito. I would trust, you guys, if you proceeded with this, chose to proceed with it, then you guys have every right to certainly to name who you think should be representing. So whether it be one of you or myself or Steve or somebody in the community that you deemed to be, a willing and able, reliable voice for the city.
I trust we'd use funds from edit revenue to fund that. Seemed to be the natural.
Jan, do you think that'd be natural, or what do you think would be?
Yeah, I think that would probably be the best one.
And is this commencing in 2023, or is it
It's
starting right now?
Okay. We're hoping that the Forum of Funders will hold its first meeting to review requests before the end of the year.
So November, December-ish, most likely?
That's what I think Lisa is hoping for.
Okay, but it could roll into next year?
Yeah.
I was trying to think from a budget perspective.
Yeah.
There's not any edit funds.
Right. So 2023 would be the either additional appropriation or commence January 1st, 2023. Would be
We'll
the,
take this year's out of something else.
what the budget look like at the end of the year.
Any further
So whoever-
discussion? Oh,
So whoever we, I mean, when we vote this, right, I mean, whoever we choose to send over there needs to be a little hard-nosed and make sure that the investments are coming this way a little bit, you know? I mean, because this is Union City folks that are, we're representing here, so.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance between
That's a-
looking out for Union City's best interest, but also keeping the county in mind, and,
Sure.
yeah.
What are you thinking, guys?
I think kind of like what you were saying, Tim, or mentioned there. I think it's worth trying. I mean, it's, you know, there's some concerns maybe, but I mean, to me, it's a little abstract. I don't, you know, fully understand how it'll work or function and what'll get funded, you know, that type of thing. But it's, I think it's a worthwhile endeavor to take a chance on. And it's not necessarily taking a chance. I mean, it's investing in the community. I mean, it is. But I think it's worth it to give it a shot.
Did you attend any of the meetings over there where they talked about gathered information for what was needed in the
I did not.
county?
I did not.
I attended two or three of
They're
them.
really, yeah, there's nothing really abstract about it. There's some concrete ideas out there.
So what are some examples then?
The housing, I think Chad can tell you.
But I guess the abstract thing is like, what is our $10,000 going to do? I mean, towards housing. I mean,
Yeah, it's not, let's say that I'm not, like I said, I don't have the figures in front of me. Because, you know, we're going to have one vote, and we're only asking, doing this as a fiscal issue.
yeah.
But there was a committee for education, a committee for housing, a committee for communications. A lot of people are talking about broadband, that we're woefully
Rural.
what was the other,
Parks and
Recreation,
Yeah.
uh,
There's
The river
Yes. Yeah, the,
kayaking or
Yes.
something.
Yeah, they were calling it the kayak committee, but in actuality, it's a little more than that. But anyway, that's one of the ideas that they've come up with, that they would like to get the White River declared as navigable for that stretch, so that they can put in some, what do you call them, ramps, where you can put a boat in the water, or a kayak or a canoe in the water.
Sure, yeah.
And so that'd be additional recreation services very nearby that we, you know, we.
Another thing that being done already, and I don't know whether whether they've asked for a grant or they're coming to the Forum of Funders for a matching fund, but there'll be signs all over the county for the various parks. We have a lot of parks in this county that people really don't know about. And there'll be a map available, and these parks will be identified. You'll actually be able to find some of them that I don't know about. There are people that were on this committee were talking to one of the young people that work in the office over there, and got her excited about it, and so she looked into it and was telling the board. But yes, these committees are actually, they've been working hard on this. I think, I know Ted is on a sign committee.
Yeah.
You're on a housing committee.
correct. And trails.
One of the young people that works in our office is is helping that recreation kayak committee.
So we've got people from Union City
Oh, yeah,
participating in this
people
committee,
from
this whole
Union City
process. I've seen them, yeah.
We had a good representative. You were there, Tito.
Yeah.
I was at a number of them. I didn't get on any of the committees. I've got enough to do.
So these are the subcommittees for Randolph County United, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I
wasn't connecting the dots there.
Randolph County United is one vote. And they'll have one person on it. Now, they did come up with money and a commitment, as did the Community Foundation. But these are definite ideas. They're not, there is a hope, obviously. You know, we're all a little cynical about Union City and the county. I mean, let's be honest. But there is a hope that finally we've got some ideas and we've got enough people from all over the county that are interested in moving things forward. And this is an effort. If it works, it will become, well, up in the northern part of Ohio, they're talking millions of dollars in their form, but that's a much wealthier area. But even in some of the smaller areas where they come up with these forum funders that have been in operation for 8, 10, 20 years, they're working. They are funding projects. And I'm just asking and suggesting, call it what you want. I think Union City should take part in this. I just don't want to see us being the naysayers.
Sidelined.
Let's face it, we're maybe one of the most progressive cities in the county. We're making strides. We're doing things here, and we can help the rest of the county do things. I think that's great because it'll reflect back on us. So you're going to get your money's worth one way or another.
Any other thoughts?
Well, I think just actually what Bob said is probably some of the hesitation comes from the fact that Union City has been very active in being pretty progressive in a lot of these type projects and funded a lot of things that other communities haven't been so fast to do. And so we've kind of been doing that. So that's a little bit of the caution about that, as we feel like we've already been.
I think that, hell, I'm cautious. Nobody is more cynical about some of this than me. But if we don't make the effort, you're going to see this county dry up and blow away.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, folks. We're in the 21st century and things are happening, and we want to be part of it. We want to see our community, and this got 25,000 people in this county, for crying out loud. That we're not talking about. That's a precinct in a larger community. So, you know, get on board and have a say in this. That's what I'm recommending.
Well, all right.
I'm good with it.
Do we have a motion?
I will move that we commit to $10,000 a year for the community foundations. What's it called? For the former funders.
Okay. Do you have a second?
I'll second.
First and second. Jan, do we need clarity in terms of when to poll? Do we commit to this January 1st, 2020?
Well,
Three?
I think he wanted to,
It's 10,000 a year for 3 years.
Yeah, it
It's
starts now,
need
right?
the commitment.
but you want 10,000, they want 10,000, so this year.
The others that have committed, yes, have put in the first 10,000.
Does it run?
Do we have to do it?
Calendar date to calendar date? So does it run till September or something next year, or are we only paying for we're paying for 3 months?
Yeah.
Do we know
That's a
that?
good question. I can't answer.
Okay.
If you want to make it starting in January, is that?
To get the most for our buck.
Well,
Do you want me to call
and
Lisa
so you want to
tomorrow?
make the commitment for,
Just for budget reasons, if not nothing else,
Right.
because we're reaching the end of the year, so.
Yeah.
well, you know more about that than I do.
So-
That gives us.
What I'm recommending is that Union City get on board and be a part of this.
Yeah.
And if you
Which-
can't take an active part until January, well, then you just can't vote in that December meeting.
We can sit in on it, we just can't vote.
But you can go to the meeting,
Yeah.
you just won't be able to vote. But if you,
I can't imagine they're going to have that much on their plate.
No,
Now,
I
this
don't.
is guessing, but yeah, I can't imagine they're going to have that much on their plate to actually vote and move forward at that
Right.
meeting, if that's the very first meeting they're going to have. So.
yeah, this thing's just getting off the ground.
So So you guys comfortable with that, January
Right.
1st, 2023?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have first and second. Jane, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore?
Yes.
Bob Leahy?
Yes.
Jason Brewer?
Yes.
Tim Heiss?
Yes.
Peter Freas?
Yes.
All right. Ordinance 2022-12, which is the salary ordinance on the first reading.
Okay. This is something we do every year. Steve and I and Chad and the department heads worked on the salary ordinance. Basically, most of it was 4% increase, with the exception of police and fire, which they were more, which we had okayed the year before, just to try to get them up into a competitive salary with other communities. So, and you don't have anything else, unless you have any questions.
I do have a question. I was looking at the deputy clerk, and it was just seemed so little. I mean, it just way too little. Who wants to? I don't know if we can. Are we allowed to say the amounts?
Oh, the deputy clerk, that's just an additional, like Cindy
It's a stipend.
gets that, it's like a stipend, that's in addition to her salary. So that's what, when she's here covering my meetings or helping me out with other things,
Oh,
she's my deputy clerk. So she gets that in addition to her budget payroll clerk salary,
oh, I see. Okay.
because that's per year, not per hour.
Any questions? No further questions?
Yeah, I do. So, under public safety, I do see we have a public safety director there. And, in our emails we've had amongst us, you said, Chad, that this public safety director will replace both the fire chief and the police chief. How is that reflected in this ordinance?
Well, this isn't an ordinance. This is, well, I mean, it's ordinance, but it's the payroll. Or it's not, what do you call, org chart related.
Pay schedule.
Okay. Because I don't see a police chief in here.
Right. Now, we do have, but I'll call out for transparency's sake, we do have fire EMS chief down there, but that's,
We do not, we don't have a police chief
Yeah,
anymore.
let's say we don't have,
Fire
with the current structure, we don't have a chief actually. Someone
Right.
under that name is the head of the department, and that part is the captain.
The police captain, okay.
Yes, the
Yeah.
police captain is overseeing the operations side of the department. The public safety director is, how would you describe what you oversee? I'll let you describe.
I'm assuming all of those administrative chiefly responsibilities.
Yeah, the administration.
That chiefs normally would be responsible for. We have captains in place that are handling the operations piece.
Okay. Under fire and EMS services, why does the assistant fire and EMS chief earn more than the fire and EMS chief?
Because my position is on the way out, and as I retire, that position will become a non-issue. So I did not budget any raise or anything for that position because it's being phased out as I retire.
which is the top one.
Correct.
Okay, good. Also, it's just curious to me. I'm not opposed to any of this, but it's just curious that we keep changing the salary of the city manager. I'm referring to the part of the salary that comes from the sewage operating fund and the waterworks operating fund. We approved $33,765 in October 2021. Then we lowered it to $28,500 in May 22, and I believe that was approved. And now we want to raise it again, not all the way up, but up to $29,640. Just
That's the standard 4%. That's all that is, a reflection of.
right, but it went down, way down, and then you mean from last year to this year is just
Correct.
standard 4%?
Yeah, that's just in line with all the other raises for everybody else across the board.
Okay.
That's the only reason for that.
Okay, that's all.
Any good questions? Jim, Jason, Bob, Brandon? Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion on the first reading.
I'll move we accept ordinance 2022-12, salary ordinance, on the first reading by title only.
Do we have a first or a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Cruz.
Yes.
All right, now going back to what we had at the hearing for, ordinance 2022-14, which is the budget estimates on the first reading. Any,
Did we skip an item on the agenda?
oh, I'm sorry, we skipped AMP. I'm so sorry. I was looking from salary to budget. Yeah, thank you, Tito. Ordinance 2022-13, if I can do math. AMP ordinance to amend zoning map, that's also on the first reading. And as Bob mentioned earlier, zoning county approved that last, what was it, Thursday night?
Wednesday night.
Or Wednesday night? For workhorse. And the way I understand it, they would, the stable would be built, but there wouldn't always be animals
Right.
on the lot. They would have them brought in for branding.
For, yeah,
Well, I say
for
branding. It's not like the
marketing.
animals are getting branded, but
To have a stockholder or shareholder
Yes,
meeting
yes.
and
Tours.
Correct.
tours and stuff, yes.
Correct.
Parades.
Yeah.
I think they mentioned Belgian horses, did they not?
Belgian.
That's serious.
Yeah.
That's what my uncle used to raise. They used to have those in the parades at Disney. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, those are cool.
Yeah, they're
they're
nice
huge, right?
horse. Yeah, they're
And I think the owners will be the ones taking care of them, so they'll be, properly taken care of. They won't just be shoved in the building and left
right, unattended.
unattended.
Right.
Could we get an idea of like how much time they'll spend there?
About a third of the year.
A third of the year.
Yeah, that's my.
Off and on, rather than have to stay there for 4 straight months.
Right.
Off and on. I believe that actually how they described it is probably not much more than 10 to 12 days at any given time.
Any other questions?
I just, I think it's awesome, right? I mean, as a marketing thing and for business, and I mean that's our jobs right there. And yet we have an ordinance about livestock. No one wants to hear about chickens, but now we're bringing in horses.
Horses are not included in that.
Yes, it is. They're called livestock. And when you look any definition of livestock, it includes cattle, horses, sheep, goats, etc. I mean that's the only reason I'm saying it, Steve.
One clear differential though, this is non-residential.
Right.
This is industrial. I mean, that whole area, that's our industrial park, so there's no, it's non-residential, it would be one benefit.
The ordinance 9003B says no person, firm, or corporation shall allow a livestock nuisance to exist on property within the position of control. So, and livestock nuisance is just having hogs, cattle, poultry, blah, 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 or other livestock underlined, because it didn't say horses, right? It said livestock, so. I don't know, I just wanted to point that out. I mean, who am I to, knock down? That's a cool name. And it's a cool horse to have in town, and they're beautiful. And, they're not going to be in there for a long time, so I'm just trying to convince myself here.
Well, appreciate you.
But I
picking
still
up
want
on it.
chickens. Okay.
No, you're good. Any other questions or comments or thoughts?
I had, as reading that, I had some interesting thoughts just in that it seemed like the temporary nature of it kind of didn't necessarily warrant going through this. But then I thought on the other side of this, one of the things that's probably important with this more than the animals themselves is the construction side, because in order to construct the barn with stalls in a commercial or in a manufacturing zone, it might be construed that you would have to follow protocols of construction for the manufacturing zone that don't apply to ag and vice versa. So
That's a good point.
the barn can be built to ag construction
I got you.
standards in area planning and zoning, and with this. And I suppose if we need to create a carve out in our ordinance, we're capable of doing that to address the livestock.
Okay.
I think we should do that.
Okay.
I mean, I'm good going forward with this, but just add a line or something to our other ordinance.
Put in like non-residential.
I think you have to be cautious with that because we have horses in our park on a regular basis.
That's true.
Yeah.
Well,
We have horses. We just had a horse show Saturday.
And horses are not specifically identified in the ordinance like every other type of animal is.
Well, which
So I
is-
think we have to be cautious with adding another line to the ordinance.
Which, if you remember, when we went through this, creating that ordinance, one of the things that came up was the fact that specific animals were mentioned meant that it was those specific animals. And I think we got into that where we had to name the specific animals.
Well, that was right, because we had an issue with chickens in a residential area. Those folks were cited by the ordinance officer. We went into court, we had a bench trial, and the city lost because chickens weren't specifically enumerated in that ordinance.
Okay.
And so, yeah.
If I don't want to interrupt you, but it just came to me. We just created an ag zone in this area. All other areas are residential or commercial or manufacturing. This is an ag zone. There is a property in the city that has a grandfathered clause apparently that can have horses. That's on North Howard Street. It's been known, I don't know if it existed years ago, that had an exception for that, partly because it was an old ag zone and it maintained that through the zoning. But if we're in an ag zone now, that's different than the residential or all the other zoning that we have.
Just wanted to mention, to clarify, that the ordinance states within the municipality about zoning or zoning categories, and that livestock that are held for storage, care, or feeding within the municipality, which, I mean, they're going to be held and they're going to be cared for and fed. Sure, not continuously, but I mean, I think that merits some kind of a little amendment at least to.
Take a look at the
You want to
ordinance.
take a look at it?
Yeah. That would be, I can take a look at it.
All right. Well,
we all.
are you still comfortable with voting on this for tonight, and then
That's-
with
Well, here's
the
the question.
expectation that he's
Well, here's the question: are we allowed to vote an ordinance that, to me, contradicts an existing one?
We're
It
not.
doesn't contradict.
We're not
it's
permitting, we're not voting on an ordinance that specifically permits the
You're just voting on changing it.
Just changing the
zoning.
zoning.
Zoning,
Okay.
That's all we're voting on. We're just changing zoning.
yeah,
So
But I
the
do
horses
think we-
can't come until,
right.
okay.
So
We
we
don't
need
have a
to
barn
take-
vote yet, so we.
Oh,
We need to take a look
Yeah.
at that ordinance.
They'd like to have it done by the end of the year.
Okay. So we've got
That's-
the
So
next
I'll buy you some coffee.
month and a half to get this done.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I would entertain a motion for 2022-13 on first reading by title only.
I will move that we adopt ordinance number 2022-13, an ordinance to amend the zoning map of Union City in the county of Randolph, state of Indiana. On first reading by title only.
We have a first, we have a second.
I'll second.
Jan, if you would roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Freeze.
Yes.
All right, now, ordinance 2022-14, which are the budget estimates. That is also in the first reading. And once again, based on what the hearing was for. Any additional questions or comments? If not, I would entertain a motion. Or not?
Just making sure.
Oh, sorry.
Make sure Tito didn't have any other questions.
No, I'm good. I asked all my questions before.
I didn't want to step on you here. I'll move we accept ordinance 2022-14 budget estimates in the first reading by title only.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer.
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Freeze.
Yes.
All right. Facade grant applicant. Steve, you want me to turn this over to you?
Okay, this is for Carts and Parts. They have completed work on their facade. They have successfully removed all of the stormwater from their roof and property. It's all underground and it all goes directly into the stormwater collection system. That project, all total, was $80,000. The ordinance itself says that they can request up to $10,000 2 out of 3 years. So he would, or he plans, however you guys want to view that, to request the maximum this year and next year. And or if you so chose, you could, I guess, pay it all this year and then he would not be eligible for 2 more years. So
So our limit is 10,000, right? Or no?
by the ordinance, it's 10,000 and you can apply for it for the same property twice in 3 years. So in theory, if you only give him the $10,000 this year, which is what the ordinance is designed for, he can then reapply in January and apply for another $10,000 by the way the ordinance is written.
For the same
But
expense?
is that for the same project though?
Same.
But I'm saying like the way
Yeah.
it's worded, would it deem, basically a reapplication of it for the same project?
Again, the ordinance is written to put it back on you to decide that. Now, I think the amount of investment is worthy of that, but that's, again, your decision.
We also, what's our maximum match is 50/50, isn't it? And this
Well,
is-
we match up to 50% or up to, it's 50% up to $10,000 per application.
Right. So here we're only 25% total after $20,000. Yeah, I don't think it's specific that it could be an application, but I don't know if it's, without having it in front of me, I don't know that it's specific that it has to be.
It doesn't say it's a separate project. And, you know, he's still working. I mean, he's spending $10,000 today. Watson's was there doing more work on the parking lot, so.
I guess just the spirit of it to me was they would be separate projects over the course of 2 or 3 years if they were reapplying, not just one project that they then split over a couple of years in
And
terms
the
of applying for the funds.
And the reason for the limit, I think, was so that we could help more businesses.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I'm leaning towards only 10. That's what our ordinance says is okay. And then we can look at it next year if we want to, but I don't have a problem with funding twice for the same project. That's the term you used, even if it's over 2 years, but anyway, I'm good with 10,000 now at least.
I'm on board with that, yeah.
If that's the one thing that we also, Steve, you have I can't remember where we're at on our fund on that.
I don't know what the total amount is, but
I
nothing
thought
is.
you guys said around 40, we went through this.
40.
We
40,000.
guessed
And
we haven't spent, nobody's hit the max
No.
this year.
and I don't think we spent, let's see.
And we didn't hit the max last year either. We didn't spend 40,000 last year either. We were a little closer last year.
I don't think we fit 30 this year, though,
Mm-mm.
even though with the other ones, I
No.
think it's more like 20, but I can, let me see. I would tell you.
I guess what I'm getting at is that we could easily commit, we should be able to commit the 10, or in all
Right.
likelihood could commit the second 10 after, the first of the year,
Right.
based on leftover funds from this year and last year. If you did the 10,000 now,
Correct.
there would be.
Yeah, there's 10,000.
That there would be,
Okay.
if we don't have any changes and further large applications, we'll have enough funding left over from last year and this year at the end of the year in all likelihood to grant another 10,000 on this without affecting next year at all.
I don't know, for me, it's like,
Well,
if you
I'm
chalk
not-
up savings, let's keep the
Well,
savings.
yeah, I get that, but there's a purpose for why we're doing that. Like I say, he's made a pretty significant investment. When you
Yes.
consider this 80,000 and then spending more, plus the fact that he spent untold dollars on new facility that's going on the tax rolls and quite a few other improvements beyond just what this is. So.
You guys ready to make a motion then with what's been presented?
Yeah, we'll go with the 10
Go with it,
now.
okay.
That's what I'm
10
thinking.
now and
And I
then
didn't- I'm gonna say,
10 in January or after next year.
Well, I mean, we revisit it. I mean,
Yeah.
reapplication. I guess.
Reapplication, yeah.
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 So do I hear somebody making a motion?
yes, I'll make the motion that we grant $10,000 to Carts and Parts for this application.
Under the facade grant.
Under the facade grant.
We have a first, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Jan, if you would roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy.
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Peter Frias.
Yes.
All right, Vector Solutions. That's despicable.
Vector Solutions. This is a new software package that we're wanting to move to for emergency services. This will be scheduling, time cards, training, kind of a one-stop shop. Currently, we're using 2 different softwares for this process. And we do nothing we do the training hours and all that manually. This will also have some basically online classes and course curriculum that our personnel can get at their leisure by just logging into their Vector account. The biggest component of this is that this will also accommodate Union City, Ohio, both police, fire, and EMS, as this collaboration moves forward. So we will have transparency, visibility into their scheduling, as they will have into ours as well. This seems like a big number, but we're currently paying about that now for the two different softwares that we're using, and this is just basically consolidating and moving it into one software. So it's kind of a one-stop shop. Eric has reviewed this software, and we're basically loading it and getting ready to start training the software very soon.
So you mentioned there you have visibility into Ohio's scheduling. I mean, are they on their own version of it, and you just have collaboration whether you can see each other's scheduling, or
no, they'll be coming to this software.
So are they contributing any funds
Yes.
to the app? Okay.
Yes.
So is it
It's not 50-50.
Because we're bigger.
We don't know what that dollar amount is just yet. We're still working out the details. The conversation, like I said, we're currently paying about this now. We're just doing it with two different softwares, so you guys don't see those dollars going out. We want to get this up and running and started so that we hit the ground running after January 1 with the new software. Everybody has transparency, visibility into who's staffing where and what. This collaboration is rapidly accelerating, so it's imperative that we are able to know who's working, where they're working, and what hours they're working. So basically, we're going to spend this, but it's what we're spending now, effectively.
Is the transition clean, like you stop spending on one and then you start on the other?
What
or is there a
we're
little
doing now is a monthly bill, and this is basically all upfront, or it's all at one time. So there'll be a little bit of overlap. We're winding down 2022 on the old system. I don't know what your go live date realistically looks like, but I mean, could we push it off to 2023? Yeah, but we still need to commit to this.
Till I actually have a couple of training days set up, I won't know how quickly we can roll this in. Initially, she thinks it's a 2 to 3 month process. I have a hard time believing that it's going to take me 3 months to set up a scheduling program, since I've lived in them my whole life. That seems a little long to me, but I'm not into the details just yet with her. That's something we're going to get started. A little bit about that process, or that invoice you're looking at. Training piece is only for us. It's not for them. It's just for Union City, Indiana. The scheduling piece is a combined effort between everybody. We're all going on it. We all have administrative access to do our own scheduling, but we see it all day, every day. We know who's working.
Are they going to be training over there? I mean, you don't need to know about their budget, but I mean.
They do, but we are currently working as separate entities. Nobody's losing any identity here. They're still Union City, Ohio, and we're still Union City, Indiana, and we have different needs as far as training goes. To be honest with you, the reason I didn't include them in the training piece is because I don't know if they have the funds available to pay. I haven't had that many communications with them, that they're currently on a scheduling program that they're going to get rid of. They're on a time clock program that they're going to get rid of. We have a scheduling program, a time clock program we're going to get rid of, and this is just one great big effort here. Best I can explain it, what we're using now is a DOS-based program, and what this is the new 21st century Windows-based, bigger, smarter, faster program that does more for us.
And to clarify, the two separate programs we're using now are one for police, one for fire.
No,
or they're not.
No, one is the time clock, and then one is.
Oh, okay.
So this is what we need to do.
Okay. but, so basically, but the overlap is just going to be the training period getting it live,
Yes.
which is,
And
which is what we
Should
have,
be
no
by the end
matter,
of the year. I
no
should
matter
have-
what you do in making a change to improve something, we're gonna experience
Correct.
that. But, and the only other thing is the fact that it's the cash outlay instead of a month to month.
And they do not have inquired, they currently don't have a monthly structured fee. It's you pay it by the year, you pay it next year, by the year, that's all they got
So,
currently.
yeah, so a year from now, we'll have
It'll be another bill, a similar bill,
a
yes.
similar bill, yes. But
So if that's within budget, do we need to vote or anything? We don't need do we need to vote, really?
Technically, you need to vote because it's over $10,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
But it's $10,000 that, I mean, we'll be incurring savings on the previous software. I mean, you go
Correct.
over a little bit because there's an overlap.
It's
but-
going, yeah. We give Jan headaches, but we do that all the time anyway, don't we? But I think it's necessary to move forward into this.
So do I,
Well, I would move, but the senior member of council is better formulating this.
Okay. I'll make the motion, we accept the invoice, number 57820 for $12,629 from Vector Solutions.
I'll second.
Jan, if you would roll call please.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Leahy,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Peter Freed.
Yes.
Governor Gray Estates, I think, Steve.
Yeah, this is on the proof roll testing that was done by our contractor. We have some stabilization things that we have to address. Best case recommendation is some additional excavating, cutting the road beds down, I think 8 inches in most areas, or in some areas, not most areas, and then just basically applying additional rock to ensure that the road base is adequate to support basically heavy truck traffic. It's not going to endure a lot of heavy truck traffic, but the garbage trucks, the fire trucks, the construction process, getting the houses built, the concrete trucks going in and out, that's going to be considered heavy truck traffic. So this is basically an estimate to ensure that the roads are what they need to be of 145/440. And again, this is based on testing once we got to grade.
What is that, 145, 440?
$145,440 to do the work and the materials.
But that's already approved, or no?
It's effectively going in as a change order on the project, and there's no contingency money built into this project. So we're not sitting here completely unexposed, but we need to keep this project moving. So
You know what he's referencing in terms of where they're putting the road in at the Governor Gray Estates. So the thought was that drainage might be an issue. That wasn't draining, so it was holding that, there was no retention ponds, so it was holding that moisture and causing the sag in the surface. But they supposedly, the second level of testing they've done has dismissed that theory, correct?
yep.
That's a challenge you run into in a
Yep.
building in a farm field, basically.
Yeah.
Which is where these things go.
Yeah, yeah.
What's our funding source to pull this from then?
We are working diligently to identify that, to try to get the project moving. But My best guess is rainy day for me.
They only has, well, 70,000 appropriated. How much did you say it was?
145.
I don't understand. I see an invoice for Vector Solutions. Is this something different? This is
No,
only
that's what
20.
we voted on. That's your.
You don't have this.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing anything that says 140.
We don't
Oh,
have-
this didn't get in
we
the
don't have
packet?
We didn't get it.
Oh.
Well, then, yeah.
So at this point, this is holding up construction, right? I mean,
To finish the road,
yeah,
to finish the home, or start the home.
yeah.
Yeah, because without the construction, can't get trucks in there to carry in the material.
Yeah, it's one of those deals where it's
It's the price of progress. I mean,
What's that?
it's the price of progress. I mean,
Yeah, but it's also frustrating because there's the chance that you could go ahead and move forward as is, but they're afraid it would break down. In fact, they're fairly certain it would break down, and then everybody living in that neighborhood would be like, why in the world is this, you know?
it's going to cost more in the long run
Yeah,
that way.
that's the frustrating part. So,
Well, then you destroy other infrastructure.
yeah, true, everything below
All,
it.
everything
Correct.
below.
Right.
Correct.
So it's not really,
Pay now or pay later.
yeah, pay a lot later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was happy
I've
they
seen
at least
those-
ran it
I've
twice.
seen those mistakes before.
Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, it's,
And it's ugly.
it is ugly.
First
Yeah.
house that
Yeah,
was built,
digging up the whole
somebody
thing.
said, well, that driveway's gonna have to be done. Bigger stone.
I'm glad we have high-quality engineering and analytical capacity to understand that, that road could crumble if we don't reinforce it, so.
So how are we doing with Ricky Ward? Is he still
Yeah,
in line
he's-
to start houses as soon as the
he's-
roads are done, or?
Yeah, he's absolutely ready to go. I just talked to him about 3 weeks ago, because he's doing a house down here on Columbia Street also, and then a couple down on, or at least one down on
Park Avenue.
Park Avenue.
Mhm.
And so, yeah, he's waiting for phase one to be done. So, bless you.
I am so very sorry. I thought that
Thank you.
it was in the packet. First page is the geological survey report that we had done.
Yep.
And then you have, I think, four, might be four, I think, proposed options. The least expensive option is the option that has been recommended by our engineering firms. And that is consistent with the way that the current roadways in all of our neighborhoods are built out. So that's obviously why we feel that that's the best way to go. And again, it was nothing that could be seen ahead of time. We had to get to the road base so that we knew how it was going to react to the weight of the trucks.
So I'm liking the names of the streets over there that I hadn't seen before, right? Leahy, Knopfsinger, and Webster.
So, Steve, This can't be submitted before,
No, it can be. It can
can
be.
be submitted for payment, then we have to, they just have to okay it, but we said we have to figure out where it came from.
No,
So it just gets submitted with the-
It's just a change order to
And you
the
have to
original
approve it.
design, correct?
Right, but it's not like I have to come up with $145,000 because it gets submitted for.
It gets submitted to that, but what I don't know is how much is going to put it over what would be for a proposed budget, which won't be realized till next year. Correct. No, it'll go through the same claim process that what we're already doing. This is a change order to that process. And again, this is not throughout the whole entire development. It's just in certain areas.
I guess I'm having a difficult time like putting what option 1, 2, and 3 are to the different estimates. Does anybody have that kind of down, what option 1 is, option 2, and option 3?
Well, are they actually recommending a, which option would be most beneficial?
I assume that the quotes here, or the estimates here are from 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's how we have placed them in order of preference based on conversations with both of our engineering firms on this project.
I don't know, I'm not an engineer, it makes me nervous to try to make a decision here as a novice.
Well, again,
What's
I'm not-
recommended? I mean, yeah.
like, again, the $145,440 is what our two engineering firms have agreed upon for this project. And then second, if you wanted something that would be the next step up, it would be the entire cement stabilization process.
So wait a
And
minute.
the last two that's in there is got the geogrid and the mesh fabric. Those are great systems, but those are, putting something on the ground that we're not accustomed to working with in and around as far as our public utilities. So the 145,440 is building up a thicker rock base is basically what we're doing. And that's very consistent with the way all of our other streets and alleyways are built. It's just built on a rock bed. And like I said, both of our engineering firms are directing us that way.
But do we know why they're directing us? I wouldn't want them to be thinking, oh, we want to recommend something that costs less for city. I mean, well, we wanted something that's stable, solid, that's going to last for years.
And if you wanted to do something a little bit more, they're recommending, their next recommendation would be the cement stabilization quote, which is $176,000 and some change.
Well, probably a couple things they're looking at is that this isn't a area where you're gonna have continual traffic at those heavy loads. That traffic's gonna be infrequent, and a lot of it's gonna be in the construction phase where everything's new,
Right.
so it hasn't fatigued. And the other thing that I looked at before you even said that, when I was looking with the fabric, you create a situation where inevitably somebody's cutting a hole in the road.
And that was the
And
question
that's-
that I posed right away.
Replacing that. is
When
difficult.
we cut that fabric, because in 10 years, we gotta replace a water line, or we gotta do something with the storm sewer or a sanitary sewer. When we cut that mesh or that fabric, we've
There's no
lost
putting
the
it back.
stabilization. You
Yeah.
can't put it back underneath.
No.
Right.
So that's why they're recommending the road base. That's what our personnel is accustomed to dealing with. That's what our roads are built with now. That's what they're recommending. If you wanted the next step up, it would be cement stabilization, which is they take powdered cement and mix it in with the rock, and they wet that, and then it basically is like dumping a bag of sackcrete in a hole. It draws the moisture and it gets hard.
But the limestone base is the easiest to
Repair.
excavate and also repair and put back with the same stability that it had. At least in my experience with that, in working with it.
And again, I'm sorry, I thought it was in the packet, so my bad.
It's okay.
I think that,
We just need a motion to move forward with,
I would really like to tell MJ Excavating to come back tomorrow and start working, so yeah, if I could get that, that would be great.
so I move that we accept the estimate from NJ Excavating for $145,440 to continue work within Governor Gray Estates.
First, we have a second.
I'll second.
Was that Tim?
Yeah.
Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brendan Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Lay,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss.
Yes.
Tito Freitas.
Yes.
Finishing up with police cars.
Police cars, so in order to finish the process of putting our police officers in take-home vehicles, we are now back to full staff. I believe, is that Wednesday this week?
Wednesday, yes.
So Wednesday, we'll be back to full staff. We need to purchase 2 additional cruisers to complete that take-home vehicle process. That is, they have selected a 2017 Tahoe and a 2018 Dodge Charger. The Tahoe would be for the detective, and the Charger would be for just one of the patrol officers. And they are both used, and the Board of Works recommended today at the Board of Works meeting to move it to the council and for Jan to start figuring out financing and a loan and basically build it back into the budget for 2023.
One question, I mean, I know the answer, but I had so many people asking me that it's just, I think, valuable to the community, just me ask it again so that it can be clarified. Why are we allowing our police officers to take vehicles, the police vehicles, home?
Because it's a benefit to help subsidize what the lack of pay that they have comparatively to very close areas.
So, yeah, just to make it clear, we pay less than other municipalities around. We want to have a competitive, we want to have competitive pay so that we can retain our officers and have them grow and in the relationship with the community, and we don't want to have turnaround all the time. So you want to provide a little bit more benefit, and this is one way we can do it. It ends up being, I don't know, probably lower than multiplying the salary a lot, still stay within a reasonable budget. So, that answer.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing I said at the Board of Works. My experience with this over all with many years of this and some of the different ways that we've approached it is that police cars, emergency services vehicles in general tend to, police cars particularly tend to age by wear, not by date. So they tend to be worn out long before they're aged out. And so we're spreading the mileage, the use over multiple vehicles, so it really isn't a major, it's not the same thing as just adding a line, it's not just like adding 3 more cars to your, then that's that much more cost, because it's gonna spread that cost out over a longer period.
And
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, just I mean, so one thing is take home cars. Other things, I mean, I had someone saying, "Oh my gosh, what's a Union City police car doing in Richmond?" You know, I mean, this is personal uses we're allowing as a benefit.
No, it's not personal use. They drive to and from home. We have a police officer that lives in Richmond.
Got it?
So it's not that they're going to Starbucks. It's that they're going home and they're coming back to work. They're not supposed to be using their take-home vehicles for personal use.
Well, in case
To
along
and
those lines,
from
if there's
work.
any discussion about a fire truck being down there today from Union City, it was for the fallen officer in Richmond, and they were helping out, so.
So the other thing I want you to keep in mind as we transition to these take-home vehicles, the last 4 officers that we've hired full-time are lateral transfers, meaning we have no cost of training. We're not paying overtime to cover them while they're at the academy. So when you look at the savings, we've already paid for these 2 proposed police vehicles and the savings of the training of the officers. So that's we've worked hard to be able to lateral transfer 4 gentlemen to this community. They all 4 want to be here. One of them's coming back home, and we're excited that we're back to full staff and we're going to be hitting the ground running. So we do ask for your support to continue what Chief Wells started about 8-9 months ago. So.
And this is gonna, I mean, you mentioned a little bit about the budget. I mean, this fits into the budget, right? I mean,
Jan took payment line items out of the budget for this year because she was not aware of this. But we were working over here and she didn't pick up on that. So we will have to recreate that and put it back into the budget process. But it's not adding money necessarily to it. It's just moving some things around in different line items to accommodate the payment. The budget didn't go down by her taking the
Right.
payment line away. It just, the money was redirected elsewhere.
so it fits. I mean,
We
just have to-
believe we can fit it in there, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I need to clarify that. I mean, it can be fit, but no, when I took the payment out, the budget did go down by some because of that payment. But overall, the budget did not go down because you had other things that were added. So adding that back in is not going to, you'll have to do an additional appropriation for that, maybe. I may be able to take it from someplace and put it somewhere else. I don't know. I'd have to look at it. But at any rate, if we do payments, it's not going to be that bad. I don't think. It's more or less putting money back in there that I took out.
And what about outfitting the vehicle? I mean, is it a police vehicle to begin with, or is there going to be expenses with the
They're
outfitting
police
of it?
vehicles, yes. They're
Okay.
police spec vehicles. We do have to upfit them with the emergency lights and siren. But Jan has that information as well, and that'll be just included in the purchase.
Okay, perfect.
So we just need an okay tonight?
Yeah, to move forward. Yep.
I motion that we move forward with the purchase of 2 police cars.
I'll second.
We have a first and second. Jan, if you would, roll call vote.
Brandon Elmore,
Yes.
Bob Langley,
Yes.
Jason Brewer,
Yes.
Tim Heiss,
Yes.
Tito Freeze.
Yes.
All right. Brandon, you want to cue up the screen? We have any visitors wishing to address the board? If so, please stand, state your name, address, and nature of business.
Guess I'm the only one here. Nobody else wants to speak before I go, right? I don't want to, like, the council run out and you lose your opportunity. But before my time starts, I have something here me and Tito was working on. Tito, I don't know if it's okay if you want to pass it out to them, but that's a little bit of work we were doing on chapter 159 for the housing ordinance. But I printed a copy out for you guys basically to share because I can't afford to print up all that paper. That was like 15 sheets just for that. But my name is Joshua Kimber. I reside in Winchester, but also a member of Randolph County. Now, I have a few questions first so I can clarify where I go next. Where do you guys stand with this Forever Friends? As of right now, what's the whole story with that? What Kobe was presenting with the dog kennel and all that stuff, are you guys still leaning towards using that?
Maybe go ahead and state, we'll note that question and note other questions for your time, instead of taking your time for us to respond.
This is for your guys' response. That's how a forum works. I submit my time to you for your response, you submit it back to me. Basically,
The time is running, and you get 3 minutes.
well, there's no state law on the time anyways, or local ordinance on it, so. This, last I thought was a discussion. I'm asking you guys a clear question. Where do you guys as council stand with the Forever Friends?
You don't have a relationship with Forever Friends itself.
Are you still interested in giving the money?
We're not giving money to Forever Friends.
What are you guys giving that money to?
It's to emergency services, to the police department, basically.
So what's the association
But that's
with the
not-
Forever Friends?
That's a volunteer organization that's volunteering to, we're not giving them, they're offering us services.
Collaboration, partnership.
So do you guys know who the board members are of this and the founders are of this? Anybody? Well, last time you guys asked, he said he didn't want to give it out. Well, it's public information. You can get this from Indiana.biz or whatever it's called. But Christy Wells is the incorporator of this. And from that, also there is Macy Kuhn, Richard Wilcox, and I want to say Shazy Smith. But I just found it a little bit odd, and a couple citizens were contacting me about this whole thing with Kobe being the one to push to try to get them involved, which would be a straight conflict of interest with his wife and him running it. The meeting from the 22nd, he said he's talked to them on several occasions about referring to Forever Friends. It's his wife. It's his wife's organization. So he talks to her every day on several occasions. They have, that's on board. The company didn't exist till September 13th, the date after your guys' last board meetings. The company didn't even exist. It actually went into effect September 13th, the day after. So all I'm basically saying is a lot of citizens would wish that you guys advise to stay away from them dealing with it, with money or funding or anything of that nature, because it would be a conflict of interest, some people think. But other than that, with that 159, if you guys could go through it and read it. And Ryan, I don't know if you got a chance to see it.
I sent an email to Tito today, and I can, well, obviously Tito and I are gonna get together on a
Yes.
horse, so we'll.
And I can
And I'm sorry, I wasn't able to get to it yet this week, but
No,
I
it's
mean,
no problem. I know
it's
there's
a
lot
promise
going
and
on
then we
with it and
fulfill.
everything, but I mean, I can forward it over to him as well and everything. I just wanted another copy for the rest of the council to see what we were discussing and talking
We'll
about.
set up a time and we'll get together.
Yes.
And the week, next week, I'd say, probably next week.
Sure.
All right, and I know you guys are ready to get out of here, so that's all.
And just to clarify, I mean, we've just changed who's in charge, right? So we've got Eric there, and he's assessing the partnerships that are possible and the ones that are not. I was very clear last time in asking whether there
That's
was,
for you guys.
thank you, whether there was actually funding that we were planning to send to Forever Friends, and the answer was very clear, no. I don't know if Eric's gonna change that. If so, I'm sure it'll come to us for approval, so.
I just wanted to make it aware of what was made aware to me with that and everything, so.
All right, thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah, well, Bob's already half getting up, so okay. No. Our next council meeting will be Monday, October 10th at 6. What's most, the date of the Board of Works will be October 10th at 1. I would hereby entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So we have first and second, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Thank you guys for not running out.